I never thought I'd be the one to destroy everything. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. I used to believe in fairy tales, in happily ever afters. But now I know better. My name is Jessica Anderson, and this is the story of how I ruined my perfect life. It started like any other morning in our suburban Boston home. The autumn sun was streaming through our bedroom windows, casting long shadows across our king-sized bed. Mike was already up, probably making his signature pancakes downstairs. The smell of coffee and maple syrup wafted up, making my stomach growl. I should have felt content, grateful even. Instead, I felt suffocated. Rolling over, I checked my phone, 3 messages from Brad. My heart skipped a beat as I quickly deleted them without reading. The guilt was becoming harder to ignore. Jess. Breakfast is ready. Mike's cheerful voice called from downstairs. I forced myself out of bed, catching my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked tired, conflicted. When did I start becoming someone I didn't recognize? Downstairs, Mike was humming to himself, flipping the last pancake. His dark hair was slightly messy, and he was wearing that ridiculous Kiss the Cook apron I'd bought him for Christmas. He looked so normal. So predictable. Morning, beautiful, he smiled, leaning in for a kiss. I turned my head slightly, making it land on my cheek instead. If he noticed, he didn't show it. Big day at work, he asked, sliding a plate of pancakes toward me. Yeah, another late meeting, I lied smoothly. The words came easier now, after months of practice. Again? That's the 3rd time this week, Mike frowned. There was concern in his voice, not suspicion. That made it worse somehow. The Morrison account is crucial, I explained, the rehearsed excuse rolling off my tongue. In reality, there was no Morrison account. There was only Brad, waiting for me at the gym. Brad, with his perfect body and dangerous smile. Brad, who made me feel alive again. Don't work too hard, Mike said, kissing the top of my head. I watched him grab his laptop bag, heading for the door. He was a good man, a great husband. So why wasn't that enough anymore? The moment I heard his car pull out of the driveway, I rushed upstairs. My gym bag was already packed, hidden in the back of my closet. The sexy workout outfit Brad loved was neatly folded inside. My phone buzzed, another message from Brad. This time I read it, can't wait to see you, beautiful. My heart raced as I typed back, on my way. The drive to the gym felt like an escape. Windows down, music blaring, I felt young again. Free. The parking lot was nearly empty when I arrived. Brad was waiting by the staff entrance, looking impossibly handsome in his tight trainer shirt. There's my girl, he grinned, pulling me into the empty office. His kisses were different from Mike's, hungry, demanding. They mad. Me forget who I was supposed to be. I missed you, he whispered against my neck. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt invincible. The next few hours were a blur of stolen kisses and secret touches. We barely even worked out anymore. The training sessions had become our cover. Our excuse to be together. But life has a way of catching up with you. That afternoon, as I was leaving the gym, I saw Steve, Mike's best friend. Our eyes met briefly across the parking lot. I froze, my gym bag suddenly feeling like it weighed a ton. Steve looked away quickly, but I knew. He had seen me with Brad. The drive home was a panic-filled haze. Would Steve tell Mike? Should I confess first? The lies were starting to unravel. At home, I paced the kitchen, jumping every time my phone buzzed. But it was just Brad, asking when he'd see me again. I needed to be more careful. More discreet. That's when I came up with the Miami trip idea. A girls' weekend away. The perfect cover for a romantic getaway with Brad. I started planning immediately, creating a fake itinerary. Even made dinner reservations at restaurants I'd never visit. Mike didn't question any of it. He trusted me completely. That trust felt like a knife in my chest. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations. Buying new clothes, making arrangements. Brad was excited, already planning our beach activities. I told Mike I needed this trip to clear my head. Work has been so stressful, I explained. He nodded sympathetically, helping me pack. If only he knew what was really in that suitcase. The lingerie wasn't meant for a girls' trip. The hotel confirmation wasn't for Miami, but for Key West. Every lie built upon another, creating a house of cards. I should have known it would all come crashing down. The night before the trip, Mike was acting strange. Quieter than usual. He kept looking at me when he thought I wasn't watching. "Are you sure about this trip?" he asked suddenly. Something in his voice made me pause. "Of course," I replied, too quickly. "It's just, you've been different lately, Jess." My heart started racing. Different how? Distant. Like you're not really here anymore. I forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. "You're imagining things, honey." He didn't respond, just watched me pack. That night, I couldn't sleep. The guilt was eating me alive. But I couldn't stop now. Brad was waiting. The next morning, I woke up early. Mike was already up, sitting at the foot of the bed. Something was wrong. I could feel it in the air. "Going somewhere?" he asked quietly. My suitcase was open on the floor. The police costume Brad had bought me was on top. Along with his messages on my phone. All of them. The world stopped spinning. "Mike, I can explain." But there was nothing to explain. The truth was written all over my face. And in that moment, I saw something change in Mike's eyes. The love turned to ice. The trust shattered completely. What happened next would change our lives forever. But that's not where this story ends. It's just the beginning of how I lost everything. And learned the true price of betrayal. The sound of Mike's laughter made my blood run cold. It wasn't the warm, loving laugh I knew. This was different. Dangerous. "Explain what, Jess?" "How long you've been fucking your trainer?" His words cut through me like glass. "How long you've been making a fool of me?" I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. "Mike, please." "Please what?" "Keep quiet?" "Pretend I don't know?" He stood up, his movements controlled, deliberate. "You know what's funny? I trusted you completely." Tears were streaming down my face now. "I never thought you'd do this to us." "I'm sorry," I whispered. But sorry wasn't enough. Not anymore. "Brad's waiting outside, isn't he?" My silence was answer enough. Mike walked to the window, his back straight. Perfect timing. Before I could stop him, he was heading downstairs. I heard the front door open. Heard Brad's surprised grunt. Then the sounds of a struggle. By the time I reached them, it was too late. Brad was on our living room floor. Mike's fist connecting with his face. Again and again. "Stop it." I screamed. But Mike wasn't listening. He was lost in his rage. Blood splattered on our cream carpet. Brad's blood. My lover's blood. Mike, you'll kill him. Finally, he stopped. Standing up, he looked at me with cold eyes. Put it on, he said quietly. What? The costume. Put it on. His voice left no room for argument. With trembling hands, I changed into the police costume. It felt ridiculous now. Shameful. Mike picked up his phone. Dialed 3 numbers. Yes, I'd like to report a disturbance. My heart stopped. My wife and her lover are here. He gave our address. Hung up. Mike, please don't do this. But he was already walking away. I heard him in the other room. Heard drawers opening and closing. When he returned, he had a packed suitcase. One I'd never seen before. Goodbye, Jessica. Those were his last words to me. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Found me in a police costume. Brad bleeding on the floor. Our perfect life in shambles. And Mike? He was long gone. Leaving behind a broken home. And a woman who finally understood the true cost of betrayal. The next few months were a blur of consequences. Everything fell apart faster than I could process. The scandal spread through our suburban community like wildfire. Did you hear about Jessica Anderson? The one who cheated with her trainer? Whispers followed me everywhere. My marketing firm suggested I take a leave of absence. Corporate image concerns, they said. Brad disappeared from my life as quickly as he'd entered it. Turned out he had other private clients too. I wasn't special. I was just another conquest. The gym fired him after multiple comp. Lanes surfaced. He didn't even say goodbye. My friends slowly stopped calling. Their silence spoke volumes. I moved in with my sister Rachel in her small apartment. The house was being sold, Mike's lawyer made sure of that. You need therapy, Rachel said one morning. She wasn't wrong. I started seeing Dr. Martinez twice a week. Unpacking years of emotional baggage. Why did you do it? She asked during our first session. I didn't have a good answer. I felt trapped, I said finally. In a perfect life? Her question made me uncomfortable. Because the truth was uglier than that. I was just selfish. Bored. Ungrateful. The sessions were brutal but necessary. Like cleaning an infected wound. 6 months passed. No word from Mike. His family wouldn't tell me where he went. Steve, his best friend, avoided me like the plague. Until that rainy Tuesday at his bar. I wasn't supposed to be there. But I needed a drink. And everywhere else felt hostile. Steve was wiping glasses when I walked in. His face hardened when he saw me. We're closed, he lied. Please, Steve. Just one drink. Maybe it was the desperation in my voice. Or the shadows under my eyes. But he poured me a whiskey. I saw him, Steve said after a while. My heart stopped. Mike? He's in Hawaii. Kauai. The glass trembled in my hand. Is he okay? Steve's laugh was bitter. What do you think, Jess? I deserved that. He opened a surf shop, Steve continued. Seems to be doing well. At least someone is, I muttered. Steve put down his towel. You did this to yourself. Don't you think I know that? Tears were falling now. Mixing with the whiskey. I hate myself every day. Good, Steve said. But his voice was softer. That's the first step. We talked until closing time. About Mike. About what I'd done. About redemption. He might come back, Steve said finally. For the divorce papers. The word felt like a punch to the gut. Divorce. The end of everything. But maybe it was time. Time to face the consequences. Time to let Mike go. The next morning, I called Dr. Martinez. I want to get better, I said. Not for Mike. For me. She helped me enroll in psychology classes. Understanding yourself is the first step to change. Slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. Got a part-time job at a local bookstore. Started journaling. Joined a support group for people like me. People who had destroyed their own happiness. Each day was a battle. Against shame. Against regret. Against the urge to call Brad. But I was winning. One small victory at a time. Then came the day I saw Mike again. I was leaving my evening class. Psychology 101, the study of human behavior. There he was, standing by the campus coffee shop. Tanned. Different. Stronger somehow. Our eyes met across the crowded sidewalk. Time seemed to stop. Students flowed around us like a river. But we were frozen. Staring at the wreckage of our past. He looked away first. Started walking toward me. Each step echoing in my ears. This was it. The moment I'd both dreaded and longed for. Time to face the music. Time to face Mike. And whatever came next. The air felt electric. Charged with unspoken words. And 6 months of silence. Hello, Jessica. His voice was different too. Calmer. More distant. Mike, I whispered. Students pushed past us. Living their normal lives. While our world tilted on its axis. We need to talk, he said. It wasn't a question. I nodded, unable to speak. We walked to a nearby park. The same one where he'd proposed. Years and lifetimes ago. Sitting on a bench. Watching the sunset. Like strangers sharing a moment. I'm filing for divorce, he said finally. The words hurt less than I expected. Maybe because I'd known they were coming. I understand. And I did. Finally. I'm sorry, I said. Not expecting forgiveness. Just needing to say it. Mike was quiet for a long time. I know, he said finally. That's why I came back. To hear me apologize? He shook his head. To forgive you. The words hit me like waves. Washing away months of guilt. Not for you, he continued. For me. I need to let go. Move on. I understood that too. Your surf shop, I said. Steve told me. A small smile touched his lips. It's good. Different. You seem different too. I am, he said simply. We both were. Changed by pain. Transformed by consequences. What about you, he asked. Psychology classes? Trying to understand myself. Fix what's broken. He nodded, understanding. The sun was almost gone now. Painting the sky in shades of goodbye. I hope you find what you're looking for, Jess. His voice was gentle. Like it used to be. Before I broke everything. You too, Mike. He stood up, ready to leave again. But this time was different. This time we were both letting go. "Take care of yourself," he said. Then he was gone, walking away into the darkness, leaving me with peace and possibility, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest love we can show is letting someone go. That night, I couldn't sleep. Mike's words echoed in my mind. Forgiveness was a gift I never expected, never deserved. But somehow, it changed everything. The next morning felt different. Lighter somehow. Like the weight of guilt had lifted slightly. I threw myself into my studies with renewed purpose. Learning about human behavior. About why we hurt the ones we love. About redemption and growth. Rachel noticed the change in me. "You seem more present," she said. She was right. I was finally facing forward, instead of drowning in the past. My therapy sessions took on new meaning. "Tell me about your childhood," Dr. Martinez suggested. So I did. About growing up always wanting more. Never satisfied with enough. "That's where it started," she said. "The need for exciting. NT. The fear of content. The fear of contentment," she finished. I thought about that for days. How I'd always chased the next thrill. The next achievement. Never learning to be still. To be grateful. Months passed, seasons changed. I graduated from my psychology program. Started counseling others who'd made similar mistakes. Found purpose in their pain. And mine. Steve's bar became my regular spot. Not to drink away sorrows anymore, but to remember. To learn. He became an unexpected friend. "Mike's getting married," he told me one evening. The words didn't hurt like I expected. "Is she good for him?" "Yeah, she is. A surf instructor." I smiled, genuinely happy. "He deserves that." Steve studied me carefully. "You've changed, Jess." "Had to," I replied. It was that or drown. Life has a way of coming full circle. 1 year after Mike's forgiveness, I met James at a counseling conference. He was different from both Mike and Brad. Quieter. More thoughtful. He knew my story before we started dating. I made sure of that. No more secrets. No more lies. "Everyone has a past," he said. "It's what you do with it that matters." We took things slow. Built trust brick by brick. I learned to be content. To appreciate simple moments. Morning coffee on the porch. Quiet evenings reading together. The things I once thought boring now felt like treasures. Rachel threw me a graduation party. When I got my counseling license, Steve came and brought news. "Mike's having a baby," he announced. My heart swelled with joy. Genuine, unexpected joy. "Tell him congratulations," I said. And meant it. Life moved forward. In ways I never expected. I opened my own practice. Specializing in infidelity recovery. Using my story to help others heal. James proposed on a random Tuesday. No fancy restaurant. No elaborate plans. Just quiet love. And trust. I said yes. But first, I needed to do something. Write a letter to Mike. Not asking for anything. Just sharing my growth. My healing. My gratitude for his forgiveness. Weeks later, a response came. A simple card. "Be happy, Jess. You've earned it." And a photo of his newborn daughter. Tears fell as I held it. But they were different tears. Healing tears. Grateful tears. James found me on the porch, holding the card. "You okay?" he asked. I looked up at him. At my future. "Yes," I said. "Finally, I am." We got married in the fall. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. Steve was there, raising a toast to new beginnings. I saw Mike one last time. Years later. At Steve's bar anniversary. He was there with his wife and daughter. Me with James and our son. Our eyes met across the room. We both smiled. Acknowledging the past. Celebrating the present. Two different lives. Born from one broken moment. His daughter played with my son. Innocent of our history. As it should be. Later, our families shared a table. Oh, awkwardness. No pain. Just peace. And the quiet understanding that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best redemptions. That night, driving home, James squeezed my hand. "Happy?" he asked. I thought about the journey. The pain. The growth. The healing. "Yes," I answered. Completely. And for the first time, I was content with enough. No more searching. No more restlessness. Just gratitude. For second chances. For forgiveness. For love. Both lost and found. And the wisdom to know that happiness isn't in the excitement. It's in the quiet moments. The simple joys. The peaceful heart that knows its worth and its wounds and chooses love anyway. End.